Violence in the home and violence against children at the hands of caregivers is one of the most serious types of violence that kids can experience. There are many bad things that happen in the lives of children.
We see children that have been maltreated, so physical abuse, neglect,
and threat either to the life, the health, physical integrity of a child in a way that it very likely raises fear and anxiety.
Voices that represent the sad reality of our children, a threat to their mental health and their general well-being. Some may not be aware that they are suffering from childhood trauma, while some could be highly aware of childhood trauma. It's a situation that nobody is willing to talk about. This is the hidden epidemic. Children are the most valuable resource and the best hope for the future. But how guaranteed is this future? It's scary. We delve right into childhood trauma, understanding it from all angles of life, from the doctor's perspective, from a child's perspective, and probably a parent's perspective.
Hello, my name is Dr. Kefa, a practitioner in Nairobi. Mostly I see children, yes, currently doing general practitioner and mostly on the pediatric reviews. So today we're going to talk about child trauma and its implications to children. And in this basis, we have to understand what is child trauma or what trauma is really. Yeah, we can classify trauma as both mental, physical, and emotional.
According to the National Institute of Mental Health, childhood trauma is defined as the experience of an event by a child that is emotionally painful or distressful, which often results in lasting mental and physical effects.
And according to WHO, that is the WHO, how they define trauma, it's not only defined as physical assault. It's also derived to physical, to emotional, and also done to the mental status of the patient. So today we're going to see the implications that childhood trauma has had to children, and also to the part how it's affecting our society. So as I said earlier, it covers the emotional health, the mental health, and the physical health.
It is a nightmare. Collectively, we are responsible for the mental health of our children. But unfortunately, with or without realizing, we leave indelible marks in the heart of our children, causing a scar in their mental health. The question right now is, are you aware of factors that lead to childhood trauma, how it manifests, and how to heal from it? In our quest to understand a childhood trauma, we met up with Helen. Helen, now an advocate of children, is a victim of childhood trauma herself.
My father was absent for the most part of my life, and this was crazy. Actually, I didn't realize that this had an impact in my life as I was growing. But later on, I came to realize A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3 is not adding up, and this stems back to my father not being in the picture.
Abandoned by her father 16 years ago, Helen explains the impact it had on her life.
I lacked guidance, and later on, even when I'm interacting with people, or let's just say when I'm dating, I tend to get this response, after maybe even an argument or confrontation. People tend to see that, what, you have daddy issues, and this of course didn't settle well with me. And after some time, I just kept on asking myself, why daddy issues, why is everyone talking about daddy issues? And I went ahead and sought help.
So, survivors of childhood abuse can often experience feelings of anxiety, worry, shame, guilt, at times even helplessness or hopelessness, and many of them suffer from grief, sadness, and anger. That is the emotional aspect. So, when we come to mental aspect, that is the mental health. At times, children who survive abuse of trauma as during the age of being a child, they have been linked in higher rates, mostly the rates of anxiety and depression, and also others have gone to an extent of suicidal attempts, and this comes whereby others are facing PTSD, that is post-traumatic stress disorders.
So after 1 to 3 sessions with my therapist, that is Dr. Kefa, I realized that I was somehow clingy around my friends. I really didn't want somebody to abandon me. I had a fear of abandonment. So whoever comes around, especially a male figure, that is, I tend to be so clingy, and this fear of abandonment goes back to when my father decided to leave. When he decided wachaenda shughulikia maneno yake, that's when all this trouble came about. And honestly speaking, right now that he is back into the picture after 16 years, and I'm 25 right now, so the moment that he came back into the picture, of course our relationship isn't that solid, and it's just actually a healing process. I'm trying to recover from the 16 years that were lost.
Reuniting with her dad at 25, Helen says it is hard to forget the void and pain caused for all those years. A void she explains she paid dearly for.
And let me tell you one thing, I would overcompensate so much, just to hold my friends, just to be around them, for them not, to leave me, So I would even decide, to take them out, bills on me, go somewhere with them, very expensive places. But again, all this, didn't settle. But coming back home, was I really okay? Because at the end of the day, it hurt my finances. Every other time I have to take them out to those expensive places. But coming back, I was not really okay. And all these kept on ringing in my mind every day, and it was so draining. And all these, me being not satisfied, went back to, was it worth it spending so much just to keep people around me, just to make sure that just to make sure they stick with me? It was not really worth it, and it was so draining, and all this goes back to something that happened during my childhood.
Children who are exposed to abuse and trauma, at times they develop what we call heightened stress response. These can impact their ability to regulate their emotions and lead.
Helen explains she has come a long way in her healing journey. She says therapy has helped a lot. She now advocates for child trauma awareness, hoping that the society will recognize children's mental health. She hopes that people stay clear from situations that may harm their children.
basically, in Kenya, we have two studies that are currently going on in Nairobi Hospital, but we derive our information from the Western world because they're advanced. And currently, as a society, we are trying to understand what child trauma does to children.
I honestly get to see people and I can easily detect that is childhood trauma or so and so is going through childhood trauma. And honestly speaking, this is something that needs to be addressed. Parents assume that childhood trauma does not exist, but honestly, it has a very, very big impact on children. You see a child behaving in some type of way, and you want, you want to blame the kid, but in real sense, it is your parenting styles that need to be checked, or you have to change, your parenting styles.
The people who inflict the traumatic events are people who are close to the children. So in many cases, the child grows with this person. The person is still in life. Yeah, it might be sexual abuse, and maybe sexual abuse will done to the child with a person, a caretaker, a person who he or she, while she was young, trusted.
I see people react aggressively to certain situations. After inquiry, you realize parents or the environment as kids was aggressive or very toxic.
According to the WHO 2020, it is estimated that up to 1 billion children aged 2 to 17 years have experienced physical, sexual, emotional violence or neglect. This accumulates to adverse childhood experiences, or if you rather, childhood trauma. It is therefore very important to be keen on the environment kids are exposed to. The environment shapes the child's development, and neglection of the same manifests in physical, mental, and emotional stress. In their later life, these issues stem from childhood trauma.
How do we treat trauma in children? So in Kenya, currently we have the Chiromo Mental Health Center. It's a nice facility. The government, I guess, invested some few coins in it. Not a few, but some millions were spent. But we have the Chiromo Mental Health Center, where it covers generally a population-centered traumatic area, or whereby mental health is catered for. We are very fortunate to have people who are taking up psychology classes, that is psychologists and psychiatrists. And nowadays we are trying to appreciate as a society that there are effects of mental health to us as a society. Currently, the studies show that out of 60% of children who experienced childhood trauma, the ones who come out like not suffering much is less than 10%. So we are left with 50% of people who experienced child trauma, and I'm sure that there are such a large number.
So childhood trauma is real, and people, have to pay attention to how they are raising their kids.
So in this case, as a society, we need to invest more on how do we take care of our children, who do we leave our children with, the time that is provided for your children, is it enough? The materials that the children see or partake, that is either video, internet, maybe social media, is it safe for the children?
My experience has taught me a lot, and as a country we need to come together and learn more about childhood traumas and getting ways to prevent it. The government needs to come up with, awareness about on childhood traumas, and also make, therapy services available and affordable to all. I literally paid 3K per session, and that's crazy.
It is the hidden epidemic, being the #1 cause of mental health issues in our society today. It all dates back to your childhood. Remember, it is real, it is happening. The hashtag is true.